What do you think, or do you think we should still have the Second Amendment?
I think that was written in a time where it was a little bit more necessary than it is now. We have so much protection from our government, and people are a little more trustworthy these days. There's no reason for it.
Gotcha. It's cool.
Have you ever shot a gun before?
I have.
Yeah.
At a gun range, that's it.
Have a certain amount of requirements or things like that?
Well, I think that background checks are so simple to solve that problem. Like, I really appreciate that Walmart stopped selling guns and ammunition because that was people's easiest access to it, and there was no background check. So, I mean, you don't really know who's buying these weapons. What are your thoughts about firearms?
I feel like firearms should be allowed if they're under controlled circumstances. I don't feel like everyone should be granted access to the firearms.
Right.
I feel like with the right amount of testing, the right amount of background checks applied, I feel like that should be okay.
Okay, and how do you feel about those who want to abolish the Second Amendment?
How do I feel about them personally? I don't feel like it's what's the best way to describe it? I don't feel like it's one of those. I don't think that's the right fight to take on. I don't think the issue is the right of having a firearm. I think the issue is who is having the firearms. Because some people like guns. I, for one, I like firearms as like a craftsman's point of view, just the way they're designed, for the sport of it. I'm not really a big fan for killing, of course, but just as in how they work, the engineering aspect of a firearm. But I don't feel like, for those who just want to abolish it, I feel like there's other ways we can do. I feel like there's other things we can do to fix the actual issue,
Right. And how do you feel about Walmart banning selling firearms?
I'm mixed on it. I feel like I understand what they're going. I understand why they decided to ban all firearms. Right now, we're in it's a hot time to have a firearm. It's a hot time to even talk about firearms. So I understand, as a business point of view, you want to just get yourself away from that tension. But at the same time, you're closing off that large population of consumers who actually like to purchase those firearms, for hunting, for the sport. Once again, I feel like I understand why, but I don't really agree with it.
Okay, and how do you feel when people carry firearms on campus?
Oof. I feel like there's a time and place for everything. If you're going to the shooting range, definitely you should have your firearm, of course. If you're going to go, once again, if you're going to be hunting, go for it. But I don't feel the need to have a firearm on campus. And if a person feels like, oh, I need my protection or whatever, then what have you gone through, or what environment were you grown up or were you raised in to make you feel like I need to have a firearm on me to protect myself at all times? We have certain institutions we have certain people who are hired, enlisted, whatever, sworn in to protect people for situations. You having a firearm doesn't necessarily help solve the problem. It just makes, especially now, it's definitely going to make other people just feel uneasy. Especially on campus, there's no point for it.
Even when they carry them at a grocery store nowadays, since there was a shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, several.
Yeah. Are you referring to the Walmart shooting?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like you could argue that if I had my firearm, I would have protect people. But the issue is we don't know who's going to protect who, and for you to make that argument of I'm going to be hero of this situation, it doesn't make sense to me. People are using that argument I'm going to save the day as if it could be applied to multiple individuals. I'm not sure if that made sense.
No.
But right, so once again, we have situations, we have institutions, we have people enrolled or not enrolled. We have people who are hired to protect people. However, there are going to be situations where we're not going to be able to save everyone. At least it's going to come down to the point of, do we save one person or we save a whole group of people? So yeah, I'd rather just have a actual person who has a badge that says, okay, my job is, I'm sworn to protect and serve. I'd rather have that person than just some
random person.
some rando from down the street who has an AR-15. Like there's no.
Yeah, you're just not really sure what they're gonna do with
Exactly. How am I supposed to know that you're going to be the one to protect me, or are you the one that's going to be causing the situation? So, yeah, I don't feel like, just to round it up, I don't feel like we should just get rid of firearms overall, but I feel like in a controlled environment, they're okay. I just don't feel like everyone needs to have a firearm.
Honestly, I believe in like self-defense and defending your home. Some people, with any issue, they'll take things to extreme. So it's, I can see where you would need a firearm to defend your property, especially if you live like in a state where it's like you're kind of alone. You own a couple acres of land and it's just you, and for the next person's like 3 miles away. But it's weird. It's such a weird situation, especially because it's just like our rights were written before. They couldn't predict this, right? They couldn't predict like this densely populated metropolis, right? So it's like they didn't know the effects that they were going to have like in 1776. So it's like they should it's amendments. Obviously you're trying to roll with the punches, but you can only do so much, and it's like any law or rule made by man is going to have its flaws, right? So it's like I don't know the exact answer what should be the ideal policy, but something's got to change.
Do you think that we should still have the Second Amendment?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, there's other states where like the gun laws are a lot looser. Like it's like a lot more lax. I have a few friends from the East Coast where it's like you can exchange money in your closet, not in your closet, but in your backyard, and it's technically considered a legal transaction, and you're the owner without any trace of it. There's no trace of ownership. So it's like stuff like that. Like I've heard stories about that like in Virginia and like mostly like in the east and southeast. So it's weird, especially, and there's like loopholes with like gun shows and like trade shows like that. So it's you're not being properly vetted in order to own a firearm, but it's also like then you have incidents in Las Vegas where like a person had no criminal history, he had no medical conditions really, but he still was able to get a gun. Like there's always like going to be like the exceptions to a rule, right? And it's like you can't protect everything, so it's just weird. But I don't think that the right answer is just to ban guns completely.
And how do you feel about those who are able to carry, on campus or in grocery stores, since they have a license?
They better be
Does that make you feel safe or more worried?
So I don't know the person well, so it makes me a little concerned, honestly. It's weird because it's just like I get the idea that some people need it, obviously, like police officers or lawyers who have like a concealed carry permit, and they might be targets even after they take the uniform off, or like when they're when it's just their time to be off the clock, right? It's inherited, it's inherent. It comes with the territory, but it's like if you're just if you're working like at Albertsons and like you want to just carry, I don't know what the exact rules are for a concealed carry permit, but it's like I hope they're strict, because I don't want just like anybody just walking around, So and we're not in an open carry state, I don't think. So it's like I'm okay with how the laws are in California, but in other places where it's like you see people walking around with a rifle and you're just like, okay, this is strange. Like I'm not gonna if somebody had like a samurai sword just walking around with it, I'm just not gonna be like, okay, that's cool, that's fine, He's probably responsible. I'm just like, what are you doing with this with a sword, So. And
how do you feel about Walmart banning firearms?
Walmart hasn't had a good track record for anything really. That's probably a step in the right direction.
I don't think that there should be a necessary need for semi-automatics in America. I believe that there should be a sense of cops should have it and government should have hold of it, but I do believe when guns were invented 200 years ago that they weren't going to be as advanced as they are today. Therefore, I don't think people need it to have it in day-to-day life.
I agree. I think that the whole argument of if our government, if we need it just in case we need to take over our government, is completely invalid, because the amount of technology that they have versus we have. I mean, we have numbers, but they have like so much technology, you know.
They have nuclear weapons that kind of
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
rid of.
I mean, not that it would happen, but like just that whole argument is like invalid in my opinion.
Not
And-
just that, I've like also seen too many like images and articles that you're reading that students are writing down like their parents' phone numbers on their arms and like fear of like school shootings and everything that's going on with that. I just don't necessarily believe that you should hold a gun over a child's life at stake anymore. And there's been too many school shootings. Like there was a case done in New Zealand, I believe, or Australia, where after one of their mass shooting, they just got rid of all their guns and everything. They haven't had one since. Not saying like if a murderer's gonna kill somebody, they're gonna kill somebody. That's not my argument. It's more of the fact that you shouldn't be able to have that on guard or be able to have it continuously if you're not gonna have the proper checks behind it. Like I'm not saying to necessarily ban guns, but I think there should be a higher restriction in America on them. There should be a need for a license, a mental health check, more of an age limit. Like there should be more restriction on them on getting a hold of a gun than
Yeah. And like
alcohol at 21.
and like the research like with other countries like UK, like the murder rates that they have versus like the United States are like significantly lower than like us. And I'm sure it's obvious because we have guns. And like when people say like, oh, guns don't kill people, people kill people, well you're still giving people like the opportunity.
The ability to do it.
Yeah, and the ability to like kill people.
Not just that, you're able to pull a trigger and it's able to kill over 80 people in a matter of 1 minute, compared to a single, like if you want to have a Glock or you want to have a single handgun, I understand that for your safety of your family and everything, yeah, you should. It should have 8 bullets, 10 bullets. That can kill anybody in a matter of 1 minute. If you're going to have something that can kill 80 people in 1 second, I don't believe that someone's going to be attacking your family like that, and if that is the case, then you should contact the police or contact somebody else in order to take care of that situation.
So would you be okay with people like carrying like firearms on them? Like having the concealed weapon and being licensed to do so?
I just,
Depending on the person, maybe.
no, but that means that everyone can have a gun.
Because you have people that have license, you know, to carry anywhere. So that
Yeah.
could be on campus, that could be in grocery stores.
I personally, if I lived in a utopia society, I wish there wouldn't be as many guns on camp or guns in general to be having. I'm not pro-gun. I understand it is Second Amendment. I do understand that our founding fathers created this great amendment of having them, but they didn't create it in 2019. They created it in literally 1776. Like there's a dramatic difference between the guns that they were using now compared to what they have in modern day weaponry. I just feel like there's a difference of a need to have it, and there shouldn't have to be like on deck at all times, ready to attack.
And the way that they created the Constitution, they created it such like a general statement as like it's supposed to be amended later in the future.
Not just that, they didn't think that America was gonna last over 50 years. Like we had no money, we had no resources. Like what they had for planned for our future, democracy's lasted for our country over 200 years. Like no one had an idea that America was gonna last this long, and we don't have a great historical foundation like enough because we've only been such like a young country. So I feel like that's why we have such a big divide right now in our countries because we don't know what to lean on and what to decide. But I wish there was less guns.
And what do you think about Walmart banning firearms?
In the stores? That's fine. That's fine with me.
It isn't like a fucking I don't know what the logic thing.
I'm not gonna bring a gun into Walmart because why do I need to?
Yeah.
Well, just to purchase or anything, like if you're a hunter.
Oh,
See, I feel like that's different. But that's why I feel like it gets a big gray area.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're buying like hunting is a sport, and I will respect that, and I understand that. Like whether like my personal beliefs is like hunting and everything, like you disagree with that. But like hunting is a sport, and I understand that part aspect. And if you want to buy a gun to hunt, like get a rifle that can go 15 bullets at a time before you reload. Semi-automatic, or needing something like the NR-15 that can kill 200 in 1 minute. Or fine again.
Okay. Have you folks ever shot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
a gun before?
I've shot. I've went with my dad a bunch of times, and it's so fun. But like when I think about it, like yeah, it's fun. But if I like, am I gonna risk like people's lives over having some fun? You know, just so I feel safer? Like no, I'd rather like make sure everyone is safe.
I think it's good to know when you use a gun necessarily. If you were to be, let's say, worst comes to worst, like God forbid this happens, but like we're in an area where they're shooting this gun on the floor, I'd rather know how to use it than not use it. So I'd rather be educated as a whole compared to not being able to be prepared for myself and defend myself. But I wouldn't willingly have a gun on myself. Like I personally would not have a gun.
It's being used a lot, but it can keep you safe. That's for sure.
I think it's more like a concerning issue because there's like a lot of other shootings.
What do you think? Do you think we should still have the Second Amendment?
I believe so, yeah. Like we do need protection for ourselves, but it comes to a certain point.
So you feel like we need more regulations? So it's okay for people to have firearms, it's just more regulations?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And how do you feel about people that are licensed to carry on them? Whether it be in the supermarket or on campus.
I'm guessing if they're regular, if they have the right to carry it, that they have enough credentials to carry it, unless they don't really get the credentials. Let's do it legally.
I don't know. I feel like there should be more tests involved. I feel like it's kind of easy just to get through like weapon license.
Okay. Do you know how long, per se, it takes for a license?
No.
So I believe it's about, they have to wait 10 days just to get the gun. But I'm not entirely sure on that part. But I know it is a process, but do you think that the process that we have now is kind of like loose, not as tightened as it should be?
To own a gun? Yeah, it's pretty loose. I think you can get a license for like $22 for a gun. Yeah, it's a real quick test. Yeah.
Okay.
You know it.
And if you go to conventions, you can easily get it.
So what do you think about Walmart banning firearms?
I didn't know that.
I did not know that. I guess that's a good step in the right direction, since it's an easy place to access for guns.
Have you folks ever shot a firearm before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was only it's like where you like.
Was it an AR-15? Was it a handheld gun?
No, it's like a hand. Like I guess a place like you practice shooting.
Oh, a shooting range.
Yeah, shooting.
Okay.
Range.
So you
It's only yeah.
And how do you feel about that? Like, how did you feel when you were able to?
It was
like,
very scary.
It was scary.
Because just like even pulling the trigger, just like you get
So what are your opinions about firearms?
Firearms, at least from my background, I've never actually like experienced or have ever held a firearm. However, I know like in the neighborhood that I grew up in, like has been a problem where like you can't walk down the alley by yourself or anything, or at night, just because like you don't know who is carrying a firearm. So there's always that in the back of your head, and just the fact that like anybody could be actually having a firearm is kind of like scary in that sense, because of the black market, and nowadays you hear so much about like mass shootings, so that could be really scary. Especially now that like I'm a recent dad, so I know that like thank you. Growing up, like I wouldn't want my daughter to be in a world where like she's not gonna be able to be safe, you know. So
wouldn't that it kind of engage you more to go ahead and be licensed to carry a firearm?
It has come in the back of my head, like maybe I do want to go get a firearm, but at the same time it's like there's so many incidents where the kids, you know, they start using it as a toy, I guess. So I don't know, maybe it just starts with the education. I know maybe if I had the time to actually get educated on guns and stuff like that, maybe I'd be more prone to actually reaching out and just getting one. But since I don't have the education or the time, like I'm not gonna just go out there and try to get one.
So you think we should still have the Second Amendment?
The way, in a sense, I do feel that we still need the Second Amendment, just because it's more so for the safety of like going if our government tries to turn on us. But I do feel that like it could be. It just depends on who has the guns at the end of the day, and then who's. I think our vote has a lot of power, and if more people actually went out to vote and we were more consistent as a generation, then I think it's something that we could change down the line. But as of right now, at this moment, I don't think enough people vote for their voices to be heard in that sense.
And what do you think about Walmart banning all firearms?
I think it should be a good thing, just because Walmart is like a bigger brand, and like if there's more access to firearms, then there's more chances like those background checks aren't as serious, you know. They're like, oh, we're just trying to move the line type of thing. So I think if there's less like firearms out there and they're a lot more stricter on like how to get them, then it would be a lot better for everybody in general.
And how do you feel about those who are able to carry in stores and possibly on campus?
I would feel that those that do carry have to have like some kind of training or like courses. Like it essentially should be something that they have to like pay for a lot, like sacrifice a lot for. Not something that they could just like walk in and then just walk out and they have a firearm in hand.
Would that make you feel more safe if you saw someone carry, or would it kind of make you worried?
It would make me worry if they're more like regular clothes and like not like carrying like more of a security guard, I guess. They don't have that appearance.
So would you kind of like, almost in a sense, like judge them by their appearance? Like if they're well dressed?
I think I would do that. Like it's just something that you always see like policemen, security guards with firearms. And you really wouldn't want to see just like a person who's just there with a firearm. I know maybe like if they had like a badge or something, like I guess that's significant. At least that's what I grew up, so that's all I've ever seen.